On April 13th, 2024, the world witnessed something unprecedented in modern history. For the first time ever, Iran launched a direct, large-scale missile attack on Israeli territory. Not through proxies, not through militias, but directly from Iranian soil to the heart of Israel. 1 year later, in June 2025, the world has just watched the two countries devastated each other with large-scale missiles and warplanes almost every day. This wasn't just another Middle Eastern skirmish. This was the beginning of a new chapter in global geopolitics, one that would eventually force nations to choose sides in a conflict with far-reaching implications. And in this high-stakes game of geopolitical chess, Russia made its choice. It would stand with Iran, not Israel. But why? Why would Vladimir Putin, a leader who has maintained strategic relationships with both nations, ultimately side with Tehran over Tel Aviv? We need to go back to April 1st, 2024. On that day, Israeli forces conducted an airstrike on Iran's consulate in Damascus, Syria. The attack killed several high-ranking members of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This wasn't just a military strike. It was an attack on diplomatic territory considered sovereign soil under international law. Iran's response was swift and unprecedented. After years of operating through proxies like Hezbollah, Hamas, and various militias across the region, Tehran decided to drop the veil of deniability. On the night of April 13th and 14, 2024, Iran launched Operation True Promise, a direct missile attack on Israeli territory. For the first time in modern history, Iranian missiles were flying directly toward Israeli cities. This marked a dramatic escalation, crossing a line that had never been crossed before. What followed was not one conflict, but three distinct phases of escalation, each more destructive than the last. The first phase ran from April 1st to April 19, 2024, just 18 days, but enough to change the regional dynamic forever. Iran's Operation True Promise consisted of missile and drone attacks aimed at military installations across Israel. Israel responded with targeted strikes against Iranian missile facilities and military bases. After a brief lull, the second phase erupted on July 31st, 2024. Triggered by Israel's assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, another dramatic escalation. Iran launched Operation True Promise 2. During this phase, the conflict expanded beyond direct missile exchanges to include cyber attacks, maritime confrontations in the Persian Gulf, and intensified proxy warfare. But it was the third phase, beginning on June 13, 2025, that truly transformed this bilateral conflict into a global concern. After months of relative calm and failed diplomatic initiatives, Israel launched what it called Operation Rising Lion, a massive strike targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, missile production sites, and military command centers. Iran's response, Operation True Promise 3, was devastating. Waves of ballistic missiles rained down on Israeli cities. Footage from Tel Aviv, Haifa, and other major population centers showed unprecedented destruction. The death toll mounted as both sides abandoned previous restraint. As the conflict intensified, world powers were forced to take sides. Tensions dramatically escalated when the United States entered the conflict. Although President Donald Trump publicly stated that a response would come in 2 weeks, it turned out to be a strategic diversion. Just 2 days later, the U.S. deployed B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, launching high-precision airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites and command infrastructure, including Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow. However, Iran had preemptively relocated its uranium stockpiles, significantly limiting the damage. Iran surprisingly retaliated by targeting U.S. bases in Iraq and Qatar, a noteworthy escalation, given that attacking American bases is unprecedented and in some respects a bold move. However, the coordinated strikes marked one of the most volatile trilateral escalations in recent Middle Eastern history. And Russia, it sided with its ally Iran, having a tacit and different choice. But why would Putin choose Iran over Israel? To understand Russia's choice, we need to go back to the Munich Security Conference of 2007. There, Vladimir Putin delivered a speech that would define Russian foreign policy for decades to come. He explicitly rejected what he called the unipolar world order, the post-Cold War international system dominated by the United States and its Western allies. Putin's vision for Russia has always been the restoration of its status as a great power in a multipolar world. This vision requires challenging American hegemony wherever possible and building coalitions with other powers that share this objective. Iran fits perfectly into this strategy. Tehran has been under Western sanctions for decades, making it a natural ally for anyone seeking to challenge the US-led international order. The two nations have collaborated extensively in Syria, where both supported the Assad regime against Western-backed opposition forces. This alliance has been particularly evident in Ukraine. Iranian Shahed 136 kamikaze drones became a staple of Russia's aerial assault strategy. What we have witnessed isn't just another Middle Eastern conflict, it's the latest battlefield in a much larger struggle over the shape of the international system itself. In this struggle, Russia sees Iran as a valuable ally against Western hegemony, while Israel represents the very order Putin has been working to undermine since that fateful speech in Munich 18 years ago. As the war is recently ended, one thing is clear. The world is changed. Old alliances are being tested, new coalitions are forming, and nations are being forced to choose sides in ways that will define international relations for decades to come.